For decades, Disney was a name that evoked pure magic. Think classic animated films, theme parks, and stories that captured the imagination of generations. It was a brand built on timeless appeal and wholesome family entertainment, a creative powerhouse that seemed to effortlessly churn out hit after hit. But lately, something feels different, right? The headlines talk about subscriber losses, budget cuts, and a struggle to recapture that old spark. How did an entertainment empire seemingly so invincible find itself navigating such turbulent waters? Let's rewind a bit to Disney's core strength, animation. For a long time, their in-house animation studio was the undisputed king. Think The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, those films weren't just blockbusters, they defined eras. This studio's ability to tell heartfelt, visually stunning stories was the engine of Disney's creative output and financial success. It was a model of vertical integration, from concept to screen, all under one roof, establishing a benchmark for quality and emotional resonance in storytelling. Then came the strategic expansion. The acquisition of Pixar Animation Studios in 2006 was a game-changer. Pixar, with its groundbreaking computer-generated animation and incredible storytelling prowess, had already redefined the industry. Bringing them into the Disney fold wasn't just about buying a studio, it was about integrating a different creative culture and a cutting-edge technological approach into the larger Disney machine. This move signaled a new era, recognizing that the future of animated storytelling wasn't just traditional cells, but also pixels, and that external talent could be vital. Next up, Marvel. The 2009 acquisition of Marvel Entertainment was an even bolder move, pulling in a vast universe of comic book characters and storylines. This wasn't about animation, it was about live-action blockbuster potential and an almost infinite well of intellectual property. Disney now had access to a sprawling narrative tapestry that could be woven into films, TV shows, and merchandise for decades. It diversified their content portfolio dramatically, allowing them to tap into a completely different, often older, audience segment while still adhering to a heroic storytelling ethos. And then, in 2012, Lucasfilm. This brought the beloved Star Wars franchise, along with Indiana Jones, under the Disney umbrella. Talk about a goldmine. Star Wars wasn't just films, it was a cultural phenomenon with dedicated fans worldwide. These acquisitions, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, weren't random. They represented a clear strategic pivot to become the ultimate content behemoth by acquiring proven, globally recognized intellectual property. This strategy aimed to future-proof Disney, ensuring a constant pipeline of stories and characters that resonated deeply with audiences, from children to adults. So, Disney amassed an incredible collection of studios and intellectual property. The thinking was, the more content, the better. This consolidation was meant to provide a seemingly endless stream of storytelling opportunities across various genres and demographics. From animated classics to superhero epics and galactic adventures, Disney had a seat at almost every table. This strategy made them incredibly formidable in the traditional media landscape, but it also set the stage for immense pressure when the industry began to shift dramatically towards digital distribution and direct-to-consumer models. Enter the streaming wars. The late 2010s saw a massive disruption in how people consumed entertainment. Services like Netflix proved that audiences were ready to cut the cord and embrace on-demand content. This presented a huge challenge for traditional media companies, including Disney, who relied heavily on linear television and theatrical releases. Disney faced a critical choice: stick to their old model and risk becoming irrelevant, or jump headfirst into the new digital frontier. They chose the latter, and it was a monumental decision that would redefine their entire business. The answer was Disney Plus. Launched in November 2019, it was Disney's direct-to-consumer streaming service, positioned as the ultimate destination for all things Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic. The goal was clear: leverage their unparalleled IP to attract subscribers directly, bypass traditional distributors, and gather valuable audience data. It was an ambitious, high-stakes gamble, requiring massive investment, but the promise was huge: a direct relationship with millions of viewers, controlling their own content distribution destiny. Which is wild, by the way, for a company built on theatrical releases. But launching a streaming service isn't cheap. You need a lot of content to keep subscribers engaged, and not just existing library titles. You need new, exclusive originals to attract and retain users in a fiercely competitive market. And this is where the costs skyrocket. Producing high-quality shows and films for brands like Marvel and Star Wars requires immense budgets, often hundreds of millions of dollars per project. Disney Plus quickly became a content-hungry beast, demanding an unprecedented output from its various studios, pushing budgets and production pipelines to their limits. Initially, the focus was entirely on subscriber growth. Disney Plus achieved incredible numbers in its first few years, far exceeding expectations. The narrative was, gain as many subscribers as possible, and profitability will follow. But the market started to change. Investors began demanding to see a path to profitability, especially as content costs continued to climb. This created immense pressure to balance aggressive growth with sustainable financial performance, a delicate tightrope walk that many streaming services found challenging, and Disney was no exception. This intense period also saw significant leadership changes at the top. Bob Iger, the architect of the major IP acquisitions and the initial Disney Plus strategy, stepped down as CEO in 2020, replaced by Bob Chapek. Chapek's tenure focused heavily on maximizing streaming subscriber numbers, sometimes at the expense of other parts of the business or long-term creative health. This strategic shift, coupled with the pandemic's impact on theatrical releases, put immense strain on the studios and the company's overall direction, leading to some internal friction. During Bob Chapek's time, the company's organizational structure was streamlined to prioritize direct-to-consumer distribution. This meant that creative decisions were increasingly influenced by what would perform best on Disney Plus. The aim was efficiency and speed in getting content to the streaming platform. While this helped boost subscriber numbers, some critics argued it potentially diluted the brand's premium perception and strained relationships with creative talent. The old theatrical-first model, which often allowed for more measured development and marketing, took a back seat. With the push for constant content, a new challenge emerged: maintaining quality. When you acquire so much IP and then need to feed a hungry streaming platform, there's a risk of quantity over quality. Marvel, for instance, expanded rapidly into multiple Disney Plus series. While exciting for fans, some felt the sheer volume diluted the impact of individual stories. The pressure to produce meant less time for meticulous development, potentially leading to franchise fatigue among audiences who once eagerly awaited every new release. This brings us to another key point: over-reliance on existing intellectual property. While having Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars is an undeniable asset, constantly revisiting the same well can lead to diminishing returns. Where's the new, groundbreaking original content that captivated us in the past? The focus shifted heavily to sequels, prequels, and spin-offs, making it harder to introduce fresh ideas or take significant creative risks. This strategy, while safe, might be inadvertently stifling the very innovation that made Disney legendary in the first place. The mounting challenges, including profitability concerns for Disney Plus and internal friction, ultimately led to Bob Iger's unexpected return as CEO in late 2022. His return signaled a significant course correction. The initial mandate was clear: prioritize profitability in streaming, restore creative excellence, and reevaluate the company's overall structure and spending. It was a recognition that the aggressive growth-at-all-costs strategy needed to pivot, and quickly. The magic, it seemed, needed a new guiding hand to find its way back. Iger immediately set about restructuring the company, aiming to streamline operations and empower creative executives. This meant moving away from the centralized distribution model that had been emphasized under Chapek, giving more control back to the studio heads. The goal was to ensure that creative decisions were driven by artistry and audience resonance, not just streaming metrics. It's a huge undertaking, reorganizing a company of Disney's scale, and it indicates a deep commitment to addressing the systemic issues that arose during the streaming push. A major part of Iger's strategy involves tackling content costs head-on. Disney has announced significant cost-cutting measures, including reductions in content spend and layoffs across various departments. This isn't just about trimming fat, it's about making tougher choices on what gets produced and how. The days of unlimited spending for streaming content are over. The focus is now on smarter, more efficient production, leveraging existing assets, and ensuring every project has a clear path to profitability, not just subscriber acquisition. Another strategic challenge for Disney is the future of its linear television networks, like ABC and ESPN. As more viewers cut the cord, these traditional revenue drivers are facing significant headwinds. Disney is openly exploring strategic options, including potential divestments or partnerships. It's a stark reminder that even a company as storied as Disney must adapt to fundamental shifts in consumer behavior. Holding on to legacy assets that no longer align with future growth areas could become a financial drag, so tough decisions are being made about their portfolio. So, how does Disney find its magic again? It's a delicate balance. They need to honor their incredible legacy of storytelling and beloved characters while also innovating and taking creative risks with new ideas. The challenge is to leverage the power of Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars without exhausting them, and to nurture new, original content that can become the next generation of classics. This isn't just about financial numbers, it's about maintaining cultural relevance and the emotional connection audiences have with the brand. It's about getting back to storytelling that truly resonates. The path forward for Disney involves a renewed focus on quality over quantity, disciplined content spending, and a strategic reevaluation of its entire media ecosystem. It means empowering creative talent, making smart investments in technology, and most importantly, remembering what made Disney special in the first place, compelling stories that connect with people on a deep, emotional level. The entertainment empire isn't crumbling, but it is certainly undergoing a profound transformation. Can Disney truly rediscover its magic? Only time and its strategic execution will tell.